The signal came from deep space, a rhythmic pulse that defied natural explanation. Dr. Sarah Chen had spent 15 years searching for evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence, and now, on a quiet Tuesday morning at the Arecibo Observatory, her persistence had finally paid off. Recording confirmed, she announced to her small team, her voice steady despite her racing heart. This is definitely artificial. The pattern repeated every 108 seconds, a complex series of radio waves that carried the unmistakable hallmark of conscious design. Within hours, observatories worldwide confirmed the signal's existence. Within days, the world's greatest minds worked together to decode its meaning. Within weeks, they had their answer. It was a map leading to an ancient alien relay station hidden in the Kuiper Belt. The United Earth Space Initiative launched humanity's most advanced ship, the UES Horizon, toward the coordinates. Captain Maya Patel stood on the bridge, watching as her crew of 50 approached the massive structure that had waited silently at the edge of our solar system for millennia. Structure is approximately 3 kilometers in length, reported Lieutenant James Wong from his sensor station. Detecting minimal power signatures, but they're stable. Whatever this is, it's still operational. The relay station was a marvel of engineering, its dark surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow in the dim sunlight. As the horizon drew closer, lights began to flicker across the alien structure's surface, responding to their presence. "We're receiving a transmission," announced Communications Officer Zara Ahmed. "It's different from the original signal, much more complex." The bridge crew watched in amazement as their main view screen filled with shifting symbols, which their computers quickly began to translate. But before they could make sense of the message, space itself seemed to tear open before them. A ship emerged from the rift, sleek, crystalline, and impossibly large. It dwarfed the horizon like a whale the size of Minnow. New symbols flashed across their screens, and this time, the translation was immediate. "Attention, primitive species. You have activated a Nexus Collective Monitoring Station. Your development will now be evaluated." Captain Patel straightened her uniform. "This is Captain Maya Patel of the United Earth Space Initiative. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." There was a pause before the response came. "Peace is irrelevant. Diplomacy is unnecessary. We are the Nexus Collective. We preserve worthy species and their habitats. Resistance will only damage the specimen quality." Specimen quality. Patel's voice hardened. "We are not specimens. We are a sovereign species. Your understanding is limited by your primitive nature." The alien response came. "We have preserved thousands of species in our galactic sanctuary. Your biological and cultural distinctiveness will be maintained in optimal conditions. This is an honor. Prepare your population for transfer." "Transfer?" Lieutenant Wong whispered. "They want to put us in a zoo." Captain Patel's jaw set firmly. "This is our home. We will not be preserved against our will." "Your will is irrelevant. The preservation process begins now." As the massive alien ship moved toward Earth, Captain Patel sent an emergency transmission home. "They're coming. They think we're animals to be kept in a cage. Show them how wrong they are." The Horizon's engines flared as they raced back to Earth, carrying their warning. Behind them, more rifts opened in space as the Nexus Collective deployed their preservation fleet. They expected to find a primitive species ready for collection. They were about to learn that humans don't take kindly to being caged. In the following days, as the collected ships approached Earth, humanity united as never before. Nations shared military secrets, scientists collaborated across borders, and factories worldwide began producing weapons and defenses. The collective thought they were dealing with simple primitives. They were about to discover that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology, but in their fierce determination to remain free. As Dr. Chen studied the alien transmissions, she found something interesting hidden in their complex language. Hints of fear. Not of humanity's weapons or technology, but of something else. Something the collective had encountered before that had shaken their certainty. "They're not doing this out of benevolence," she reported to the United Earth Defense Council. "They're doing it out of fear. Fear of what species like us might become if left to develop on our own." The council chambers buzzed with this revelation. Humanity had just been handed both a compliment and a challenge. The Nexus Collective saw our potential and feared it enough to try to contain it. As the alien ships entered the solar system, humanity prepared for the fight of their lives. They might be technologically outmatched, but they had something the collective didn't understand: an unshakable spirit and the creativity that comes from fighting against impossible odds. The first battle for Earth's freedom was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy exactly what primitive humans could do. The Nexus collected ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. They expected submission. Instead, they found resistance in the most unexpected ways. In the mountains of Nipple, where the thin air would have challenged most humans, local guides led collective ground forces into carefully prepared avalanche zones. The aliens' advanced sensors couldn't distinguish the subtle differences in snow density that every mountain dweller knew by instinct. Entire battalions of their forces disappeared under tons of white powder. Off the coast of Japan, fishing boats appeared to flee from collective ships. The aliens followed, not realizing they were being led into the maze-like channels between islands where ancient knowledge of tide patterns and currents proved more valuable than advanced navigation systems. Dozens of collective vessels ran aground or found themselves trapped in rapidly draining bays. Dr. Sarah Chen worked tirelessly in a hidden laboratory beneath the Australian outback, studying the collective's communication patterns. "Their technology is incredibly advanced," she reported to the Defense Council via secure channel. "But it's also rigid. They haven't had to adapt or innovate in thousands of years. They don't know how to handle unexpected situations." This weakness became apparent when teenagers in Silicon Valley created viral software that mimicked collective command signals. The aliens' automated systems couldn't distinguish between real orders and the millions of false commands suddenly flooding their networks. Their carefully coordinated operations fell into chaos. In orbit, Captain Maya Patel commanded a fleet of seemingly primitive Earth ships. The collective's energy weapons rippled harmlessly through their hulls, because they weren't really ships at all, but holographic projections concealing swarms of small, agile fighters. While the aliens wasted power on phantoms, human pilots struck at vulnerable points identified through careful observation. Impossible. The collective commander's transmission carried a note of frustration. "Your species lacks the technology to resist us. Your tactics defy logical analysis." "That's humanity's greatest strength," Patel responded as her fighters struck another collective cruiser. "We've never let impossible stop us." In Africa, tribal trackers led resistance groups through terrain that confused collective sensors. In the Amazon, indigenous knowledge of the rainforest turned the dense jungle into a deadly maze for alien patrols. Every piece of human culture, every scrap of traditional knowledge, became a weapon. The collective had expected to find a primitive species ready for preservation. Instead, they found themselves fighting shadows and ghosts, facing tactics their advanced strategic systems couldn't predict because they came from human creativity rather than technological superiority. But the aliens still held overwhelming power. When they discovered a resistance base in the Sahara, they simply vaporized 100 square kilometers of desert. When guerrilla attacks frustrated them in Eastern Europe, they deployed atmospheric processors that turned the air itself into an uninhabitable soup of chemicals. Humanity paid a terrible price for each victory. Cities fell. Millions were captured and transported to the collective's preservation habitats. Yet for each person taken, 2 more joined the resistance. For each city lost, 3 new underground bases were established. In her hidden lab, Dr. Chen made a breakthrough. Their preservation directive isn't just about protecting species, she announced to the council. It's about control. They preserve species at a specific point in their development, the point just before they might become a threat to the collective. This revelation spread through resistance channels worldwide. The collective wasn't offering protection. They were enforcing stagnation. They preserved species the way humans preserved insects in amber, forever frozen, never changing, never growing. The resistance adopted a new motto: we choose to evolve. Captain Patel's fleet engaged in increasingly bold raids, not just defending Earth, but striking at collective supply lines and communication relays. Every human victory, no matter how small, proved their point. Humanity refused to be preserved in amber. They would rather fight and die free than live forever in a cage. The collective's frustration grew. Their reports to their central authority contained something they hadn't experienced in millennia: doubt. This primitive species was proving to be anything but primitive. Their adaptability, their creativity, their sheer determination to remain free defied all the collective's predictions. As Earth's resistance continued to grow despite overwhelming odds, the collective made a fateful decision. If humanity wouldn't accept preservation willingly, they would have to be broken first. They began preparing weapons that would demonstrate the true cost of defiance. They failed to understand that humans had already accepted that cost. The price of freedom was high, but humanity would pay it again and again. The real question was, how high would the price be for the collective? The skies over Earth turned purple as the collective deployed their latest weapon, a cascading wave of quantum disruption that threatened to unravel the very fabric of reality. This was their answer to humanity's continued resistance. If they couldn't preserve Earth's population, they would remake the planet itself. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Sarah Chen watched her instruments with growing horror. The quantum cascade is altering fundamental forces, she reported to what remained of the Defense Council. Gravity, electromagnetic fields, even the strong nuclear force, they're all becoming unstable. Above the Antarctic, Captain Maya Patel's fleet engaged in desperate battle with collective ships. The quantum disruption was affecting their engines, making flight paths unpredictable. She watched as one of her pilots attempted a simple evasive maneuver and instead shot straight into the upper atmosphere, their engines unable to compensate for the changing laws of physics. "We need to adapt," Patel announced to her remaining squadron leaders. "Forget everything you know about normal flight patterns. Watch how the distortions move and use them." In the ruins of Moscow, resistance fighters discovered that the quantum disruption had an unexpected effect on human consciousness. People began having visions, glimpses of other possibilities, other worlds, other versions of themselves. Most went mad from the experience. But some, like Lieutenant Anna Korova, learned to use these visions to predict the collective's movements. "They think they're breaking us," Anna told her team as they prepared another raid. "But they're actually showing us who we really are, not just who we are now, but who we could be. All our potential, all at once." The collective didn't understand why their weapon wasn't producing the expected results. Instead of submitting in the face of reality itself breaking down, humans were adapting to it. Street kids in Rio de Janeiro learned to surf the gravity waves. Farmers in India discovered that the disrupted electromagnetic fields could be harnessed to power new forms of technology. Dr. Chen made another breakthrough. "The quantum cascade isn't just a weapon," she announced. "It's a tool they use to reshape worlds for preservation. But they've never used it on a planet with a technologically advancing species before. Our activity, our constant innovation, it's creating unexpected patterns in the quantum field." In orbit, Captain Patel noticed something strange. The collective ships were maintaining a precise formation, almost like they were afraid to deviate from it. "They're not just attacking us," she realized. "They're trying to control the cascade. They're afraid of it too." The revelation spread through resistance channels. The collective's ultimate weapon was as dangerous to them as it was to humanity. They were so focused on maintaining control that they had become prisoners of their own precision. Humanity took a different approach. Instead of fighting the quantum disruption, they embraced it. Dr. Chen developed devices that could detect and map the cascading patterns. Resistance fighters learned to time their attacks to moments when reality was most fluid, using the chaos to their advantage. The collective watched in disbelief as humans began to thrive in conditions that should have destroyed them. Their reports back to their central authority became increasingly urgent. This species wasn't just resisting preservation. They were evolving despite it, perhaps even because of it. But the quantum cascade couldn't be easily stopped. Like a stone thrown into a pond, the ripples of disruption spread further and further. Cities crumbled as gravity shifted. The seas began to glow with strange energies. Earth was changing, becoming something neither human nor collective had ever seen before. In her lab, Dr. Chen discovered something that changed everything. The quantum cascade isn't just changing our world, she reported. It's changing us. At a genetic level, at a quantum level, humanity is adapting. We're becoming something new. Captain Patel saw it in her pilots. Enhanced reflexes, intuitive understanding of physics that should have been impossible, the ability to predict and ride the waves of disruption like they were born to it. The quantum cascade, meant to break humanity's spirit, was instead accelerating their evolution. The collective faced a terrible choice. Their weapon, designed to preserve worlds in unchanging stasis, had instead become a catalyst for unprecedented change. They could either withdraw and admit defeat, or escalate further and risk losing control entirely. They chose escalation. New ships arrived in the solar system, carrying weapons that made the quantum cascade look mild in comparison. The collective had decided. If humanity couldn't be preserved, they would have to be eliminated entirely. But they had waited too long. Humanity wasn't the same species they had first encountered. In the crucible of quantum chaos, something new was emerging, something that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The collective's new weapons turned the moon to glass, a demonstration of power meant to finally break humanity's will. Instead, they witnessed something unprecedented. The quantum-altered humans began to glow with an inner light that rippled across the planet like an aurora. Dr. Sarah Chen, her own skin shimmering with the same ethereal luminescence, studied the readings from her transformed equipment. The quantum cascade had changed everything, not just humans, but their technology as well. Simple computers had evolved into crystal matrices that interfaced directly with human consciousness. Mechanical engines had become something closer to living tissue. We're not just adapting, she reported to what remained of the Defense Council, her voice resonating with harmonic frequencies that hadn't existed before the cascade. We're transcending. The quantum disruption didn't break us. It awakened something that was always there, waiting. In orbit, Captain Maya Patel's fleet had become something the collective couldn't comprehend. The ships were no longer merely vessels, but extensions of their crew's consciousness. Pilots didn't fly their craft. They became them, their quantum-enhanced minds spreading through systems that had evolved far beyond their original design. They thought they were preserving species in amber. Patel communicated directly to her fleet through the new quantum network that connected all transformed humans. Instead, they showed us how to break free of amber entirely. The collective's massive ships unleashed weapons that could shatter planets, but they couldn't hit what they couldn't understand. Human vessels phased in and out of normal space, appearing inside collective shields, their weapons guided by intuition that transcended normal physics. In what was once New York, now a crystalline forest of quantum-grown structures, Lieutenant Anna Korova led her team through dimensions the collective didn't know existed. The visions that had once threatened their sanity had become a new sense, as natural as sight or touch. They could see the quantum probability waves that made up reality and step between them at will. They wanted us in a cage, Anna told her team as they prepared to strike at a collective base. They never imagined we'd learn to walk between the bars. The collective's central authority was in chaos. Their reports tried to describe what humanity had become, but their language had no words for it. This wasn't just resistance or adaptation. It was transformation on a scale they had never witnessed in millions of years of preserving species. Dr. Chen made one final discovery that changed everything: the quantum cascade. She announced through the Global Consciousness Network it wasn't just a weapon. It was a test, one that every species they've preserved has failed. Until now. The evidence was in the collective's own signals, hidden in patterns that only quantum-enhanced minds could perceive. They had done this before, countless times, to countless species. The preservation program wasn't about protection. It was about preventing other species from reaching this very threshold, this point of quantum awakening. Captain Patel led her transformed fleet in a bold maneuver, not attacking the collective ships but surrounding them in a complex geometric pattern. As her vessels moved into position, the quantum energies flowing through the human network began to resonate with the collective's own technology. "You fear change," Patel transmitted to the collective commander. "You fear evolution. That's why you preserve species, to prevent them from becoming like us. But change is the only constant in the universe. Fighting it has made you stagnant, trapped in your own preservation." The collective ships tried to retreat, but they were caught in the resonance pattern. Their crystalline hulls began to shimmer with the same inner light that now filled humanity. The quantum awakening that they had fought so hard to prevent in others was being reflected back upon them. "We offer you a choice." Dr. Chen's message reached every collective ship, carried on waves of quantum probability. Continue fighting and be destroyed by the very forces you try to control, or accept transformation and evolve with us. For the first time in their long history, the collective faced something they couldn't preserve, couldn't control, and couldn't defeat. Humanity had not only survived their ultimate weapon, but had transformed it into a gateway to a new stage of existence. In the crystalline forests that had once been cities, in the quantum seas that had once been oceans, in the probability clouds that had once been mountains, humanity waited. They were no longer just human, but they hadn't lost their humanity. They had become something new while keeping everything that made them who they were. Their creativity, their determination, their unwillingness to be contained. The collective had one last chance to choose: join humanity in transformation or face extinction at the hands of what they had helped create. Their answer would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of all preserved species across the galaxy. The galaxy held its breath as the collective made their choice. Their massive fleet hung suspended in Earth's orbit, caught in the quantum resonance pattern created by humanity's transformed ships. The crystalline surfaces of their vessels pulsed with the same inner light that now filled every human being, a light that represented not just change, but conscious evolution. After what seemed like an eternity, the collective's response came, not in words or traditional signals, but in a surge of quantum energy as their ships deliberately dropped their defensive barriers. They had chosen transformation over extinction. Dr. Sarah Chen, her consciousness now spanning multiple probability states, guided the process. They're allowing the quantum awakening to spread through their entire network. She communicated through the human quantum mesh. Every preserved species in their sanctuary worlds will be affected. Across the galaxy, in thousands of perfectly maintained habitat worlds, ancient stasis fields began to flicker and fail. Species that had been frozen in time for millennia began to stir, their own quantum potential finally unleashed. Captain Maya Patel watched through enhanced senses as the collective ships began to change. Their rigid crystalline structures became fluid, organic, alive in a way they had never been before. The beings inside were changing too, their consciousness expanding beyond the limitations they had placed on themselves so long ago. "We were wrong." The collective's final traditional transmission echoed across all frequencies. "We thought preservation meant keeping things unchanged. We didn't understand that true preservation means allowing growth, evolution, transformation." In what had once been the Amazon rainforest, now a living cathedral of quantum-shifted biology, Lieutenant Anna Korova and her team helped establish the first contact points with the awakening preserved species. Through the quantum network, they could share humanity's experience, helping others navigate the transformation without losing themselves in the process. Every species brings something unique to the awakening. Anna reported as she communicated with beings that had been locked in stasis for millions of years. Some bring new ways of perceiving reality. Others bring forgotten knowledge from the early universe. We're not just transforming. We're combining into something greater than any of us could have become alone. Dr. Chen made one final discovery that changed their understanding of everything. The quantum cascade, she announced through the now galaxy-spanning network. It wasn't created by the collective. They found it, just as they found the preservation technology. There was another civilization, long ago, that seeded the galaxy with these tools. They weren't weapons or preservation devices. They were keys, waiting for species ready to use them. The transformed collective shared their archives, revealing the truth. They had found the quantum technology eons ago, but had been afraid of its true purpose. Instead of using it as intended, as a means of evolutionary transcendence, they had twisted it into a tool for stasis and control. Their fear of change had turned a gift into a curse. But now we understand. The transformed collective consciousness resonated through the quantum mesh. This was always meant to be a galaxy of life and growth, not preservation and stagnation. Humanity, the collective, and thousands of awakened species began to work together, exploring their new existence. The quantum transformation continued to spread, but not as a weapon or a tool of preservation. As an invitation, each species could choose its own path, its own way of growing and changing. Earth itself had become something new, not destroyed or preserved, but transcended. The quantum-shifted planet was now a living library of possibility, where the laws of physics were more like suggestions, where consciousness and reality danced together in endless creativity. Captain Patel's fleet became the nucleus of a new kind of space exploration, not conquering or preserving, but connecting. They reached out to young civilizations, not to cage them, but to offer them the choice when they were ready: remain as they were or join the quantum awakening. We still have so much to learn, Dr. Chen shared through the network as she studied the endless variations of quantum possibility. Every day brings new discoveries, new ways of being, new understandings of what consciousness and life can become. The galaxy was changing, awakening, becoming something that neither humanity nor the collective had imagined possible. The age of preservation was over. The age of transformation had begun. And somewhere in the quantum probability waves, in the spaces between moments, in the dance of consciousness and reality, the ancient civilization that had seeded the galaxy with quantum keys watched with satisfaction. Their long experiment had finally borne fruit. Life would continue to grow, to change, to become. They had waited billions of years for a species that would not only survive the quantum cascade, but understand its true purpose. In humanity's resistance to preservation, in their unwillingness to remain unchanged, they had found what they were looking for: a species that could show others how to break free of Amber's embrace and spread their wings. The universe was vast, and now it was alive with possibility. The story of consciousness was not ending, but beginning anew. And humanity, once dismissed as primitives to be preserved, had become the teachers of transformation, the breakers of stasis, the proof that the only constant in the universe is change itself.